Let's preview tonight's Spurs Pelicans game, then bring on the doctor. Dr. Ryan McCorkle is here to talk about the injuries to Vassell and Sochan.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, this is Hot Rod.
And I'm RC from the San Antonio Spurs.
And you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia. I am a Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio and TGIF, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great end of the work week. The weekend is here, but we'll finish it off strong right here on Locked On Spurs. You guys are the everydayers. We appreciate you subscribing wherever you can. YouTube, Ken's 5 Plus app, iTunes, Spotify. Yeah, pick a platform. We are there. Hey, what are we talking about today? We're going to be looking at tonight's game, Spurs at Pelicans. Just a quick preview. And then by popular demand, Dr. Ryan McCorkle is back for another stop. He's going to be discussing what exactly happened to Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sochan on the injury front, and why the Spurs shut them down, why it was prudent for them to do that, rehab, what exactly was the procedure that Sochan went through, all that and more. That's just in a few minutes. But first, your Spurs are taking on the Pelicans tonight out in New Orleans. Let's go and break it down. Let's preview it very briefly. The Spurs are 18-58 heading into tonight's contest. Pelicans are 45-31. Now, the Spurs are coming off a road loss to the Nuggets, 110-105. That was a great game, by the way. Victor Wembanyama with a near quad dub. Yes, 23 points, 8 assists, 9 blocks, 15 rebounds. He was right there. Osman scored 10 points in the loss, but exited the game due to an ankle injury. Zach Collins had 13 points. Malachi Branham had 24. Trey Jones had a triple-double, 10 points, 11 assists, and 12 rebounds. As you all know, Sochan is out for the season. Vassell is out for the season. Keldon Johnson sat out that game due to sickness. So there you have it. Now, for those that are on uniform watch, the Spurs will be in their City Edition jerseys tonight. So what are we looking at? We always start with the opposition, in this case, New Orleans. Well, the good news is the Spurs are catching the New Orleans Pelicans at the wrong time for them, the right time for the Spurs. The Pelicans have lost 3 straight games at home. Yeah, no home cooking for New Orleans. Hopefully the Spurs can capitalize on that in tonight's contest. And some better news for the Spurs. The Pelicans have been out-rebounded in 3 straight games. A big reason why the Pelicans are losing right now. So hopefully the Spurs can do that. When you got Wemby on the deck, chances are high that you'll be able to continue that trend for New Orleans. And the Spurs should be able to out-rebound the Pelicans tonight. Keep an eye on the scoreboard. The Pelicans are miserable at home when trailing at halftime. They are winless. They have not won a game when they're losing at half. They're 0-10. So Spurs got to get that scoreboard in their favor heading into the break. Now, for the Spurs side of things, the Spurs have recorded fewer steals than the opposition in 3 straight games. So they're not getting that done defensively. They got to get those steals tonight, create opportunities for themselves, slow down the Pelicans' offense, and steals will hopefully do that, get some easy points in transition. And the good news is pretty much the Wemby effect here. The Spurs have recorded more blocks than their opponents in 4 straight games. So they're out blocking teams, but Wemby has a lot to do with that. And that's good. Now, just the Wemby effect in the paint, it's real. You can see it. When opposition tries to drive into the paint at the rim, or they'll second guess. Or miss chip shots, fearing that Wemby's going to come and block them. So, yeah, that's all good stuff there. All right, there you have it. A quick Spurs-Pelicans preview. Up next is Dr. Ryan McCorkle. He's going to break down the injuries to Vassell and Sochan, why the Spurs had to shelve them for the rest of the season. I want to talk to you about a Robinhood. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. Robinhood is now even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from another retirement account with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost right now. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to for IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of the first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available only to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial member SIPC is a registered broker-dealer. Hey, I want to talk about Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. Go there right now, San Antonio, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. That's in the 281 and 1604 area. You need a latte? They got that. You need a cold brew? They got that too. Hey, do you need a pick-me-up, like just an old-fashioned coffee called the Mudslinger? They got that as well. They have it all only at Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. They're a proud local sponsor of Locked On Spurs and a proud community member in San Antonio, serving the best drinks around town. Hey, you know how they have the Lightning Bolt series? Well, they've changed it. They changed the recipe. They're starting to use Lotus Energy instead of Red Bull. Now, Lotus has similar caffeine effects to Red Bull, but with 7 power plant extracts. It gives them flexibility into creating new drinks. Look, they'll still have Red Bull available, but the default will be Lotus. Their Lightning Bolt line even includes the Alien, which is a nod to Victor Wembanyama. Go try it. It's very delicious. And yeah, that's now made with Lotus Energy. Combining natural caffeine and a powerful blend of 7 plant extracts, the new and improved Lightning Bolts will keep you powered up all day. Hey, they got mini donuts as well. And they got it all at Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. Go there right now, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive, open every day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Follow them on social media at Mudslinger SATX. And by the way, try the OG OJ if you want to take it easy and try non-caffeinated drinks. So, once again, San Antonio, go to Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive, open every day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Go there right now because life is too short for bland coffee.
This is Emily Swallow, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
And we are back right here on Locked On Spurs, joined by Dr. Ryan McCorkle. Follow him on X and on Instagram at AustinEMDoc, and Instagram, on Twitter, AustinERDoc. By the way, Doctor, you have been in demand since news came out of the injuries to Vassell and Sochan. So you are a wanted man, everybody. And here he is. We got him on to round out the week here at Locked On Spurs.
I appreciate the love. I appreciate that. Glad people want to hear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of fans. Bittersweet, I guess. Sucks, that Vassell and Sochan are out for the season. But at the same time, I'm glad that they tune into you, want to know exactly your thoughts on the medical side of the Spurs throughout the season. But let's dive right into it. As everybody knows, Vassell and Sochan are done for the season due to injuries. We're going to first start off with the Devin Vassell, Doctor. So apparently after the Spurs' recent Spurs-Warriors game, Vassell underwent an MRI, and the exam revealed a stress reaction to the, here we go, now it gets all medically, and this is where you come in, third metatarsal head on his right foot. And with that, Vassell will miss the remainder of the season. So, Doctor, WTH, what is all that about? What exactly did Vassell suffer, and what is his rehab like?
Well, that was well said. You got it right. The metatarsal. Second and third metatarsals tend to be the ones that basketball players have more difficulty with. There's also the fifth metatarsal. That's the classic fracture that basketball players often undergo, called a Jones fracture. Those tend not to heal well. There's also the first metatarsal fracture, is another classic emergency medicine injury called a dancer's fracture that happens to dancers that dance on point on their toes. Second and third tend to be from the repetitive jumping for basketball players. Those, what he has is a stress reaction, and that is important to distinguish from a stress fracture. It means they got to it early. There's evidence on the MRI of inflammation around the bone, and if you didn't rest it, you would progress to a stress fracture, and that's a boot for 6 to 8 weeks and a longer rehab. So this is going to be rest for a couple of weeks and then slowly rehabbing back up. And I just think there's no reason for the Spurs, given where we are this season, to put him through that.
Yeah, and Vassell was having a great season, and then even spiked it up as the season progressed. I was fortunate enough to talk to him before it was official that he was done for the season, and he really, was just honing in on his biggest development, which was reading defenses knowing that he's going to get double team, how to get out of him, finding it quicker. So it's a shame, he didn't get to round out the season. But Doctor, a metatarsal, I'm assuming it's like a little bone. Like, how big is the metatarsal? Is it tiny?
No, it's one of the major bones of your foot,
Okay.
right in the middle of your foot. So you have the phalanges that are your toes, and then those metatarsals are those bones it's the same setup as your hand. So
Okay.
think of your fingers as the toes, the phalanges.
Okay.
Then in here in the hand, they're called carpal bones and metacarpal bones.
Okay.
So carpal bones being down in the wrist, metacarpals in between the wrist and your fingers. So in the foot, these would be the metatarsals in between the fingers or phalanges and your tarsal bone or your heel bone in your foot. So it's the second and third bones here. If you think of the hand as the foot, that's where his stress reaction is and where it would be a stress fracture if he kept putting weight on it and repetitive jumping.
I'm assuming he probably noticed something, just was like soreness, pain. Like, what are some of the first symptoms that something is up?
That's it. Pain and soreness, especially it probably got better after a game and after he rested for a day. And then when you get back to that repetitive jumping, it would get worse. So you'll probably have him do nothing probably for between 2 and 6 weeks just to get it completely healed. Because once you get a stress fracture, then we're stuck, with him in a boot, on crutches, non-weight bearing. And like you said, it is a shame because we're not just working on his skills, but working on that chemistry with he and Wemby in the pick and roll and just being on the court together. It's a shame he's going to miss it, but it is the right thing to do long term, especially in context of there being nothing other than building chemistry left to do this season.
You mentioned for him, it likely will just be off his foot, not nothing really basketball related as far as putting stress on it. But once he gets cleared, what type of ramp up will they be doing, or he might do? Just, it is the off season, just continue resting. But knowing him, he's a pro athlete. He's gonna want to get in the gym somehow, even if it is the off season. What type of precautions should he and the Spurs take once the healing period is over?
Well, he'll be non-weight bearing, I imagine, for at least a couple of weeks, where he'll put no weight on the foot, maybe even do a boot and crutches kind of thing, and you can do pool work. Where they're suspended in the pool and not their feet aren't actually touching the ground, but you're getting the same motion as running to continue your cardio. That they'll do the upper body kind of the rowing machines, things that can get cardiovascular exercise, get the heart rate up, so he doesn't lose his cardiovascular conditioning while still not bearing weight on that foot. And there's a lot of different options for that, and then he'll continue doing strengthening exercises and even probably a lot of lower body work, strengthen the quads, the hamstrings, just without bearing weight on that foot.
Wondering though, will this situation pop up again? Is this something that he's gonna have to be monitoring throughout his pro career? Because if it happened once, it could happen again.
Sure. I would say it is analogous to runners and shin splints.
Okay.
It's annoying, and once you have shin splints, it tends to be something that you kind of manage. But runners don't stop doing their marathons because they get shin splints. It's just they know how to, when it pops up, how to manage it, when to rest, the ricin therapy that we talked about, and doing those kind of things so it doesn't progress. He's a young player. It may just be, he played a lot of games this year, and we didn't do a lot of load management or any of that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't be concerned that this is going to be a chronic problem for him, but he'll know when, hey, my foot is sore, maybe I'm going to skip a back-to-back kind of thing.
Well, I'm glad you put some Spurs fans' minds at ease right there, because right away, especially on the Locked On Spurs YouTube page, when I posted the news there, one of the comments that popped up was, "Oh, he's injury prone because he went through this now. He went through this last year, but this is separate and apart from what he suffered with last year. Last year, he had surgery. It was a lot bigger than what this is. So, again, doctor, I don't think this is a sign that he's injury prone."
I mean, injury prone is that's kind of a loaded phrase that doesn't mean a whole lot, right? I mean, some people are just unlucky. that they fall the wrong way, they
Yeah.
break a shoulder, they tear a ligament, things like sprains and strains and things like that. If that happens repeatedly, then maybe somebody starts to talk about the words injury prone. But I mean, if you have a stress reaction, you have a stress reaction. It's not a
Yeah.
it's just something physiological that happened in the body. It doesn't mean he's injury prone. And I think context in all things is important. And the point is, could he play through this with management if we were in a playoff run? Probably. Is
Probably.
there
Yeah.
any reason to make him do that at this point in the season?
No.
Absolutely not. So
No.
that
Exactly.
doesn't make him injury prone. It's just the right thing to do given the context of the season.
Absolutely. He is Dr. Ryan McCorkle. Follow him on X at AustinERDoc, on Instagram as well. He's a lot more active on Instagram, everybody. So follow him over there, AustinEMDoc. He's with the St. David's Emergency Center out in Austin, Texas, and also with the Backstage Concierge Medical Practice. He'll talk about that in just a few seconds. Coming up next, we're going to be discussing Jeremy Sochan, his injury and surgery. Doctor's going to shed some light on that. That's next, right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, I want to touch about it. Amazon Fire TV. Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers an amazing viewing experience with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or that college tournament, basketball tournament, or you're going to want to have that Fire TV at ready. Hey, Fire TV, he has even recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos for your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV lets you dive into all the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on the latest in the world of sports, March Madness, NBA, MLB, and so much more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. Go right now. Learn more at amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. I want to talk about Nissan. Look, if you're the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further, ever wonder what adventure could be like just around the corner, our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. Hey, you want to try the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder? Has room up to 8, an expansive cargo capacity, and an advanced, capable, and available 4x4 capability. With 284 horsepower and up to 6,000 pounds of towing, when adventure calls, the Pathfinder is there to answer. Need more? Try the 2024 Nissan Armada. That will change what you expect from a full-size SUV. Picture a rugged 4x4 that can seat up to 8 in first-class luxury and in style. Tow bigger and explore further with the 2024 Armada. Look, take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, Nissan Armada. Go find your next big adventure right now. You want to go to shopnissanusa.com. And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with the man that Spurs fans had to have on this show. They said, when is he coming back? We need him on. He is Dr. Ryan McCorkle, breaking it all down on the injuries with Vassell and Sochan, who were out for the season. He just discussed Devin Vassell. Now he's going to talk about Jeremy Sochan. Once again, follow him on Instagram. He's a lot active there, AustinEMDoc, and on X at AustinERDoc. All right, Doc, before we get your thoughts on what happened and your opinion on Sochan. So for Sochan, Doctor, Sochan was diagnosed with a left ankle impingement. According to the Spurs, they consulted with outside experts, and the Spurs medical team has determined that arthroscopic surgery was the best approach to correct the injury. Sochan has had surgery already. It's all done. He posted it on his Instagram. He looks like he's fine. He's playing video games. So, Doctor, there it is. That's what's keeping out Sochan for the rest of the season into the new year. Until the new season, I should say. What exactly happened? What is a left ankle impingement, and why was surgery needed?
So ankle problems are inherent to playing the game of basketball, right? I don't think anybody who's played basketball at any level doesn't know what it's like to roll an ankle. So when you roll it a few times, you can start to have decreased range of motion. That's what they mean by impingement. It's commonly more used with shoulder impingement. where it's difficult with to do things like comb your hair, that kind of thing. But it's the same idea with the ankle. He was having limited range of motion, probably from repeated sprains, buildup of scar tissue. So you do something called arthroscopic surgery. It's minimal. You have 3 small incisions, all of which are about a centimeter, so that you can stick a camera in there and a couple of instruments. What they'll do is clean up all that scar tissue, cut away any ragged, torn pieces, and then you have suction in one of the ports, and they'll suck all that out of there, clean up the ankle joint so that he has more free range of motion. It's like I said, you come out with either glue or 3 sutures, and that's it. Your recovery is a lot easier. It is surgical, and again, just like we talked about with Vassell, given where we are in the season, going into the off season, then we'll probably keep him off of it again for 6 to 8 weeks just to let it completely heal. Arthroscopic surgery, if he had to, he could probably be back in 4, but with the off season, we'll probably go 6 to 8. It's not a complicated surgery. It's going to be an easy recovery, and it's nice to get that range of motion back and the full feeling of feeling good on that ankle until the next time you land on somebody's foot and roll it.
Exactly. Doctor, same question I had for Vassell, not for Sochan. What do you think some symptoms he may have been talking about with the Spurs team? Like, something's wrong with my ankle. What do you think may have prompted him to say, you know what, guys, I got to get this checked out?
So you roll an ankle, it's usually, a week, 10 days, you're icing it, you're doing all the ricin therapy kind of thing. And then especially when you're younger, you get back and feel like you're back to your full strength, full self. You're able to cut, plant, change direction, those kind of things. With the impingement syndrome, it probably just meant that after the last roll of the ankle, anytime that he was making a sudden stop and cut, it wasn't feeling right. It wasn't feeling stable. And after a game, he probably was having difficulty, with his range of motion moving it. So that's what we call impingement. And it was like, being this young, this early in your career, that's something you don't want to become chronic. Let's go in there with the cameras, do the arthroscopic procedure, see what's going on, clean it up, and get you back to 100% by probably for Team Poland this summer, and then again for the season next year.
Yeah, you took my next question out of the way. Do you foresee this possibly interfering with his efforts with playing with Team Poland this summer, or probably not?
Well, I think like we talked about with Wemby and Team France, even more so with Team Poland, not to besmirch Team Poland at all, but I think they will be ecstatic if Jeremy just shows up for the games and plays for them. I don't think they're going to fight him very much at all if he's not going through their training program while he's resting this ankle. So I think he'll be able to participate. He'll just play the games.
Yeah. And another thing too, we talk about Wemby having a heavy load in the offseason with Team France. It's actually a little bit more for Team Poland. They have to qualify still. So they'll still have to do a qualifying tournament to see if they can get one of those final spots in the Olympics. So hopefully Sochan will be in time, be ready. And it looks like he might be, according to what you foresee, Doctor, for that qualifying tournament. And then if they make it, then play in the big tournament out in France. But all in all, I was, I actually say surprised, but I thought it was pretty quick because he has the surgery and then bam, he's on Instagram the next day, like, hey, everything's fine. Look at me. I'm playing video games. He didn't look like any pain. He wasn't groggy eyes and nothing. He looked like he was fine. Is this something that they put people like Sochan or whoever has it under like anesthesia or local anesthesia? How does that work?
With arthroscopic surgery, there's a couple of different ways that you can do the anesthesia. You can do even a local, what they call a beer block was the old way. If you didn't want to put somebody under general anesthesia or even sedation is usually sufficient to do this type of procedure because it is so minimally invasive. I mean, even talking 30 years ago, this used to be a big, ugly, bloody surgery where you had a large incision. You see people who've had knee and ankle surgery who are in their 60s and 70s, and they had these huge scars where they just fillet open the joint to be able to get in there. Now, like I said, you're talking 3 less than 1 centimeter incisions. You're in, you're out. Most likely they do it like a colonoscopy where you give some sedation like propofol or Versed, kind of thing that makes you not remember it and not feel any pain during the procedure, but you're not having to have a tube put down and put on a ventilator. That's called general anesthesia.
Mm-hmm.
Most likely for this, they could just do sedation, and they were probably in and out of there in under an hour.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Good to know. Good to know. By the way, Doctor, seriously, you were in demand. The moment I was like, I was getting flooded with comments like, "Is Dr. Ryan coming on? Is Dr. Ryan coming on?" And for once you agreed and you said, "Yeah, you can do this week," every single episode I ended it by saying, "He will be coming on, everybody. He will be coming on later this week to wrap us up." And Doctor, that's good news to hear that Spurs fans really value what you think and have to say about the Spurs and the medical side of the team, Doctor.
Well, that means a lot to me. I enjoy being able to do some education for fans, and I love talking about basketball and the Spurs. So anytime that your skill set can overlap with your passion, it's a good day, and I appreciate you giving me that opportunity, Jeff.
I'm glad you took some time. He is Dr. Ryan McCorkle. Follow him on Instagram at AustinEMDoc, on X, AustinERDoc. Still having time with that X and Twitter thing. I'm still not out of it yet. But tell us what's going on with backstage, the Austin emergency room. What's going on in your world?
We just had a match, Austin FC versus FC Dallas the other night, and I'm the medical director for the Austin FC and the UT Longhorns stadiums. So we take care of the crowd. So we staffed that game, and it was great. The new FC season is going awesome. I'm a big proponent of public transportation. We got a brand new train stop right in front of it. So
Nice.
Austin is like a real big city now. We can get on the train and take it right to the FC stadium. We have a couple of shows coming up at the Moody Center. Tyler Childers is playing. Tim McGraw is playing there. We also, some really good friends of mine, Robert Ellis has been a friend for years. He is playing with Ben Queller and a great new local Austin band called the Brothers Fresh. The Bros Fresh, they are opening for them at Scoot Inn. So I'm going to be down there at that show taking care of them. So we got a lot going on with backstage medical, with Austin FC, and then the Longhorn season will be here before you know it.
Absolutely, man. You are busy. You are so busy. Hey, by the way, I was going to get your opinion on this. We always like talking about sneakers with Doctor. What do you think about the Chinese brand of sneakers? You know, like Klay Thompson with Anta, and Kelvin Johnson with we talked about it last time. Kyle Din, I think that's how you pronounce it. Do you think you ever got into that area of Chinese brand sneakers?
I have not. I have a hard enough time keeping up with. I stick with Jordan 1, 2, 3, 4, 11, and also a couple of the 5s and 6s.
Yeah,
but that's all I can do with Jordan. I do a few dunks, and I've really gotten into to the Kobe's lately because they're so comfortable.
Yeah,
that's amazing. But that's all I can keep up with. I will say, because I'm a huge Jokic fan, he switched from Nike because they didn't give him a signature shoe, which is, in my opinion, a huge mistake to let him get away. But his pink shoes that he's been wearing, you've seen him against the Spurs. He wore them both times. I think those are great looking. They're another Chinese brand. There's 5 different Chinese brands.
They are.
They retail for $300, which is a lot, I think, for a brand that I don't know anything about how well they feel and how durable they are. So I have not broken into the Chinese sneaker market yet, although I will say, like the Way of Wades, the ones that Keldon is wearing, the Jokic ones, I think are really sharp looking, but you got to draw a line in the sand somewhere. And I think that's exactly where I am right now.
Yeah. I think it was like Tony Parker when he was playing, he was with the Chinese brand Peak. And I think Andrew Wiggins is with them. I think Tony Parker still is with them. You go to their website, they have some Tony Parker labeled ones, but I was looking at some of them
as well.
Yeah. And I was surprised how many brand overseas are Chinese, and they're hard to get in the United States. Like you have to go through third parties, and they'll deliver them to you, but you gotta have a lot of patience because it takes weeks before they arrive.
And the price is pretty high too. Did you just as a last minute mention? Did you see the announcement about the signature Wemby's coming out? The GT2s.
I did. You know what? Something about that green is just throwing me off. That shade of green. I don't know if I can rock that. Are you going to get up
Yeah, I mean, they're the Wimby ones. This is going to
Yeah.
be our cornerstone for years to come. You want to have the ones just like the Jordan ones. I love the colorway of them. They're not the most comfortable, but it's the
Mhm.
Jordan one. And so the Wimby one, I understand the green is going with that alien vibe because
Yeah.
that's how they're being branded. I think that's
Exactly.
why it's green. I'm going to get a pair just because they're going to be the Wimby ones forever.
Yeah. I think they dropped May 3rd and the sticker price is $170. So
Reasonable
That-
on the scale of things. Most new ones
Yeah.
are 220, 225.
yeah, the 170. Yeah. So, and then, I thought about you when I was putting that up for Ken's the other day. I was like, I wonder if Doctor's going to get these. Probably you're so he'll get them. He's definitely going to get them. But we can't wait to see those sneakers behind you on a future episode of Locked On Spurs. Once again, he is Dr. Ryan McCorkle. We know how to follow him. Austin EM Doc on Instagram. Austin ER Doc on X. And we thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. We'll be back next week. All things silver and black as the Spurs season comes to an end. It's winding down pretty fast. And as always, you guys are the everydayers. So for Dr. Ryan McCorkle, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.